Welcome to the Wednesday, June 5th, 2024 meeting of the Gloucester Conservation Commission. The time is just after 5:30. For those of you not aware, we are back to a in-person and hybrid, so folks can join over Zoom. Please note for those people joining over Zoom, if we do have any technical difficulties, the meeting will continue. We do have a quorum present, so the meeting will continue. And it will continue to be recorded, so you can catch up on the meeting happenings through the video. Unless that fails, then you have the minutes. So,
We have no stenographer either then. It's all recorded, right?
well, it'll be recorded on Zoom. We'll see.
Brown.
All right. I guess we'll start with a roll call of commissioners present. Member Charpentier.
Here,
Cook.
Oh, you're muted.
Here,
Treadwell.
I'm here. I'm struggling to hear you. That's all.
All right.
Good.
Are you able to hear us?
not very well. Where is your microphone? It kind of goes in and out a little bit.
Right in front of me.
Okay,
Member Sargent.
Here.
Member Viteri.
Here.
Member Gullah.
Here.
And Member Jackson.
here.
We have a quorum present.
Okay, first up is administrative briefing. Anything in this slot first to go through, Chuck?
We do have the several continued items. Let's see. NOI 0282950 for 160, 158 rear, 154A Essex Avenue, as requested to continue to July 17th, 2024. NOI 0282976 for 171 and 281 rear Magnolia, as requested to continue to June 26, 2024. NOI 0282981 for 139 Wingersheek Road, as requested to continue to July 17th, 2024. That is it for continuations. We do have a request from a couple of the extensions and the new items to be heard prior to 7:30, as they have another commitment this evening.
All right, thank you. Next up is public comment period. This is the period of the meeting where the public is welcome to speak towards conservation issues that are not, I repeat, not on tonight's agenda. If someone would like to speak on anything at this time, you may do so. Hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. First up will be, next up, I should say, is minutes review and approval for the May 15, 2024 minutes. I think we have enough to move that.
Yes, Commissioner Jackson moves to approve the May 15th, 2024 minutes of the Gloucester Conservation Commission as amended.
Charpentier seconds.
We'll call Member Charpentier.
Yes,
Member Cook.
Yes,
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Viteri.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. Was moved and approved. Continue business. Next is our next line item on the agenda. Notice of intent 0282968, 22 Raven Lane. Lori, what, we don't have to go through all this, do we? I thought we determined we didn't have to. Yeah, so it's been, let's go back to that. Notice of intent 0282968, 22 Raven Lane has been previously continued to 6/26/2024. Next up would be notice of intent 0282950. And again, I'm not going to read all this again. Upper Banjo LLC. That's been continued to, excuse me? Oh, they're requesting a continuation to July 17th. Is that correct?
Okay,
So, yep.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282950 at 160, 158 rear and 154A Essex Avenue to the Conservation Commission meeting of July 17th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds.
We'll call Member Charpentier.
Yes,
Member Cook.
yes,
Member Gradwell. Oops, sorry. Member Sergeant?
Yes.
Member Materi?
Yes.
Member Gullo?
Yes.
And Member Jackson?
Yes.
Okay.
Hey,
On-
Chuck? I can hear Bill. This is Linda. I can hear Bill just fine. I can barely hear you all in the auditorium. And I don't know if they're the old mics that we used to have, but I think you have to really make an effort to talk right into them.
Okay,
All right, thanks for letting us know.
let's move these forward if we go here already.
Dave, you might want to put yours down.
It's about as low as it goes. Okay, where do we leave off?
Dave,
On
you wanna
this,
set
or,
yours-
no, put on this.
Dave, you want to tilt yours
What,
down?
this on that?
Tilt it down.
You gotta bring it down. There you go. So where are we at here?
Magnolia Avenue, we're supposed to continue that to June 26th.
You just move.
Yeah.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282976 at 171 and 281 rear Magnolia Avenue to the Gloucester Conservation Commission meeting of June 26, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member
Yep.
Charpentier?
Commissioner Cook,
Yes.
Member Cook?
Yes.
Member Sergeant?
Yes.
Member Materi?
Yes.
Member Gullo?
Yes.
And Member Jackson?
Yes.
Okay, now we're up to Wingersheik Road, correct?
Yes.
Okay, notice of intent 0282981, 139 Wingersheik Road. Ernest Herman, removal of unpermitted boardwalk on dune and revegetating portions of a pre-existing path in coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage, coastal beach, and land containing shellfish, Mary Rimmer Environmental Consulting LLC representing. Don't see
They
Mary.
have requested to continue to July 17th, 2024.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 0282981 at 139 Wingersheik Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of July 17th, 2024.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier?
Yes?
Member Cook?
Yes.
Member Sergeant?
Yes.
Member Materi?
Yes.
Member Gullo?
Yes.
And Member Jackson?
Yes.
Okay, moving right along. Notice of intent 0282994, 57 Wingersheik Road. John and Maureen Nahill installation of a permeable paver on existing gravel driveway in coastal dune, land subject to coastal storm flowage, in buffer zone to EC and bordering vegetated wetland. John Judd of Gateway Consultants, Inc., representing. Cable and rack. Technical issue?
So we'll skip for that for now.
Okay.
We'll come back to it.
You mean while we wait?
Before we get.
Or discuss? Oh, oh, you want to just get those down,
Yeah.
pushed aside while we're waiting? Yeah. But, oh, here they are. Okay. Yeah, we can start it. The problem with, we might have to discuss them, that's the only thing. So we're going to skip down to new business, is that what we're proposing here?
Mhm.
All right, so next up would be extension 0282540, 69 Rogers Street, Americold, for repairs to facility.
Bob, just the Atlantic Street.
Oh, I was wondering why.
Why'd we skip the new business?
We got two more to do.
There were three extensions where the applicant has a conflict at 7:30.
Okay, that's why. That makes more sense now. Extension 0282784, 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 3. Michael Hannon, construction of a single-family home and utilities, septic system, driveway, landscaping, and appearances, and part of the 3-lot, 5-unit subdivision in riverfront area to the Jones River, buffer zone to BVW, Salt Marsh, land subject to coastal storm flowage. Jesse D. Schumer, representing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. For the record, Attorney Jesse Schumer representing the applicant for this matter. We're before you tonight, Commissioners, with a request for a 3-year extension on 3 orders of conditions that were approved by the Commission back in October of 2021 with the Mass DEP file numbers that you just read. The status of this, as the Commissioners may recall, this is 3 essentially single-family house lots that are on Atlantic Street. The construction of the project has been delayed significantly due to factors that have been outside of the applicant's control, and they're outlined in the letter that was submitted to the Commission in support of this request. But essentially, in a nutshell, this project unfortunately got caught up in a couple of factors that we consider to be outside of our control for the most part, and we've been diligently working with the Board of Health and with the city to try to work through the issues to push this project forward. And we're happy that we're in a place now where we're looking forward to being able to start construction later this year. So we need to request that the orders of conditions be extended so that we can proceed with that construction. The 2 primary issues, Commissioners, that were discussed in the letter that were the impediments of the project have to do first with the septic approvals for the site. As the Commissioners may be aware, this project has been before the Board of Health and the city sanitarian a number of times, including approximately at the same time we were previously before you in 2021. The project received the septic approvals for 2 of the 3 lots, but unfortunately the Board of Health had some concerns with the leach field location for the 3rd parcel, and they denied the septic plan for the parcel 3. Since then, since January of 2022, when that denial order was issued, we've been working with the Board of Health and the sanitarian to resolve their concerns about the leach field. We've modified the project and reduced the bedroom count to accommodate their concerns with the leach field. And as of last month, our engineers of record at Williamson's Barrages, represented here tonight by Thor Akerley, and he's available for any questions you might have about that aspect of the project or any other. We have refiled applications with the Board of Health, and we're hopeful that septic plan for Lot 3 will be approved. It's being filed currently as a shared septic system for lots 2 and 3. And as I mentioned, we're hopeful that it will be approved by the Board of Health when it goes before them. The other aspect that has delayed the start of construction for this project is something that the Commissioners, I think, will be fairly well acquainted with, which is the status of the proposed upgrades of the public water infrastructure on Atlantic Street, which has been the subject of some controversy around the city. Our understanding is that work has finally been greenlit and moving forward. That work was necessary in order for the proposed houses to connect to city water. So with that work now being greenlit, we're able to go ahead and connect the houses and move forward with the construction from that aspect of things. So that's just a brief overview of the impediments to start of work. The situation on the ground at the site has not significantly changed since we were last before you. We believe that the interests of the act and the local ordinance will be fulfilled by the order that the commission wrote 3 years ago. And on that basis, we therefore request that the commission consider issuing an extension permit for these 3 orders of conditions to allow work to be completed by or before October the 21st of 2027. With that, commissioners, I'll pause and ask if you have any questions for me or members of my team. Also available tonight is Michael Hannon, representing the ownership, who will be able to fill in any additional details regarding the status of the project and prior permitting issues.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. Commissioners, any comments or questions?
Yeah, this is Commissioner Cook. I'm wondering if the changes to the design are going to require the NOI to be amended and brought back before the commission. We can grant the extensions, but are the NOIs going to have to come back before the commission for further amendments?
I'm going to defer, if I may, Mr. Cook, to my colleague, Mr. Akerley, to respond to the technical aspect of that question.
Thank you, Commissioner Cook. Thor Akerley, professional wetland scientist and registered sanitarian with Williams and Sparagus. I believe the only element of the project that changed or would change is frankly for the better, which was the septic system that was proposed on Lot 3 was about 100 feet to the salt marsh, and that's being proposed to be eliminated. And a shared system is proposed, which is outside of any jurisdictional resource areas to the Gloucester Wetlands Ordinance or the Wetlands Protection Act. And thus, any impact would be reduced in this case. So there could be some minor grade changes where the septic system was proposed, but that area was, if I recall, was on the outskirts of the 100-foot buffer zone on that Lot 3.
This is a tricky project. I remember it clearly, and I'm a little concerned with exactly what Mr. Cook said, but I guess we just need either you to resubmit exactly what was approved originally to the board. We probably have it, but I would like it myself to review it. I don't know if we need to, I don't want to continue this on you, but I don't know if you can sit here and tell us nothing's changed from the original approved filing. I guess we could move with a vote, but I'm a little concerned not knowing what might have changed, because that was a tricky subject, a tricky project, not just the septic fields. We had a dock, a platform that we got rid of, I believe. We were planning to remove a tremendous amount of trees and replant. I hope all that is still in the package. It's a little nerve-wracking to approve this extension and have something go awry. Linda, you
How
want to
does
talk?
Chuck feel about it?
We finish with a roll call of commissioners? Member
Yeah,
Charpentier?
well, yeah, I was just gonna ask if we're gonna go through, commissioner comments. We seem to have had a very good process in place. And it would be a shame to lose that and lose some efficiency. So my question aligns with Bill's. I'm hearing that, oh, nothing's changed, but the grade has changed and this has changed and that's changed. And now we have a single leach field instead of 2 leach fields. I think we need a current drawing
Well,
of what actually is going on. And I'm with Bill. We need to amend that NOI to show these changes.
yeah, well, can we, and Chuck maybe, can we grant the extensions? And because they're making a modification, they're required to come back before us with an amendment to the NOIs. So that would keep the NOIs active, and they're gonna have to come back with an amendment to those NOIs, even if we grant the extension.
Yeah, I mean, that's definitely a possibility. They've started the extension process, so even if they continue for another meeting, they've met the timeline, for the extension, so it wouldn't, even if it lapses in the interim. So it's up to you guys, I guess, if you want to see these plans prior to making a decision, or take a look at them after making a decision and see if they need to come back for an amendment. That's up to you guys. But
As the agent, though, are you concerned that if we approve this, something could slip through the cracks? Are we putting this at risk?
We can condition it that you would be able to review the plans and determine if they need to come back for.
So as I said, personally, I'm comfortable with granting the extensions. However, the applicant has to be known that if they're making a change to those NOIs, then they have to come back before us with an amendment before they can do anything.
All right, so we're in a roll call comment session right now, so who's
I'm
next?
sorry.
That's okay.
Member Sargent,
No comment.
Member Viteri.
I think, are we taking all three of these together as a vote, or are we voting on them separately? Because
We do them separately.
okay. Well, at least one of them, it sounds like, is still awaiting Board of Health approval, which I think is going to come at the end of this month, if I understand that correctly. And their extension doesn't expire until October, so we've got some months to play with before they even need to come back for an extension. I'd be inclined to at least kick the one that is still waiting Board of Health approval until that vote takes place, just in case that approval doesn't come through and they need to change the plans for something else, because there's no use extending an NOI if they're going to have to change the plans if they don't get Board of Health approval. So, they can come back and ask for an extension once they have Board of Health approval and they know that they're not going to need to do a plan change. But I think it's maybe a little premature to at least vote on that one. The other ones, if they got their approvals and the only thing they're waiting for is construction, I don't mind extending it if we know that that's the plan that they're going forward with. But if there's going to be other potential plan changes, why not see a new plan and see if we need to go through additional, NOI amendment? It's not like we're up against next week being the expiration time.
Grillo.
Yeah, I would concur with Mr. Viteri said. I'm okay. Which is the one that is going to need Board of Health review? Which one?
It's parcel 3, and it's a request for a shared septic system that will involve lots 2 and 3.
Okay.
I could share my screen quickly if that would help.
I don't know if we need to see it at this point, at this time. I think we're good. It's more about you. Are you guys okay with us just putting aside that one extension and voting on the other two?
Yeah, I think we'd be okay with that. We certainly would like to get the third resolved, obviously, well before the expiration in October. But what I'm hearing from the commissioners is that you'd like to see the up-to-date plans and get some additional information on the status of the Board of Health process. So I think hopefully we'll have some additional information by the end of the month, and I suppose we can come back at your next meeting to address the third one.
Actually, this is Commissioner Jackson. It sounds like this is going to affect Lot 2 as well,
Mhm.
because it's now a shared system. So I would be more comfortable if we simply approved the extension for Lot 1, had a chance to review the plans, and then continued at the next meeting.
I concur. So with that, if there's nothing else to add, do we want to move to move to approve that one extension?
And you don't need to continue extensions. Okay.
Right.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve. How long an extension were you requesting? 3 years? Are you good with that?
Yeah, that's the max we.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve a 3-year extension for 0282785 at 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 1.
Linda?
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes?
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Viteri.
Yes.
Member Grillo.
Yes.
And Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. So I guess you're going to have to wait on the other two until you get your determination through the Board of Health.
Yes, thank you very much, commissioners. With that, I think we'll request continuance of the other 2 extension requests to your, I suppose your first meeting in July, if you have one.
That'll be July 17th. There's just one meeting in July.
July
17th.
17th.
Yeah, just the 17th.
We need to move that?
Yes, I think we do.
Okay. Can I do them as a group?
Yeah.
All right. Commissioner Jackson moves to continue requests for extensions for 0282784 at 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 3, and 0282801 at 167 Atlantic Street, Lot 2, to the Conservation Commission meeting of July 17th.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes,
Member Sergeant. Yes. Member Lettieri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you very much. We'll see you in July. Happy 4th, everybody, and we'll provide copies of the updated plans. We'll file those with Chuck following the meeting.
Thank you. Okay, now that you threw me all out of order here. First night in the hybrid system and you're throwing curveballs left and right. So
50
where do we want to go back to, Chuck?
57.
57 Winger Street?
57?
Veterans Way. No, Wingershik Road, 57.
Correct. Is John on the call?
What do we get? John should be rejoining as a panelist.
Judd, can you hear us? There he is.
I can. Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. On behalf of the Nahils, who reside at 57 Wingershik Road, we asked for a continuance at the last hearing. You may recall to hear back from National Heritage. We do have a letter, I believe it's in your file, with their standard time of year restrictions for this proposal. This, you may recall, is a project to do pretty substantial native landscaping on the property, as well as replace a gravel driveway with or parking area with pervious stone pavers. And I think everything was explained at the previous hearing, and then last hearing we asked for a continuance just to wait to hear back from National Heritage. I can answer any questions you might have at this time.
Okay. All right, I'm going to open up for public comment first. Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 57 Wingershik Road may do so now.
There are 14 attendees online, but nobody has their hand up.
Okay. Seeing none, hearing none, and I'll close the public comment period. Next up would be roll call commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier,
no comments.
Member Cook,
No comments.
Sergeant.
I'd like to include National Heritage comments as part of the order of conditions, and there should be a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings.
Member Lettieri,
No additional comments.
Member Gullah,
No comments.
and Member Jackson.
No comments.
Okay, guess you're all
Yep.
set.
Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282994 at 57 Wingershik Road.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes,
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Lettieri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282994 at 57 Wingershik Road with the aforementioned conditions.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Cook,
yes,
Member Gradwell. Sorry, Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Lettieri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
You too.
Next up, notice of intent, 0282996, 73 Veterans Way, Riverdale Park. Dave Holden, site improvements, site improvements in the existing housing development, including sewer, stormwater, improvements, riverfront area, and land subject to coastal storm flowage. Rick Ludborn of Fuss and O'Neill, Inc., representing. Linda, are we doing better with our sound?
a little bit.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Hi,
Name and address for the record, sir.
my name is Rick Lundborn. I'm a civil engineer, project manager with Fuss and O'Neill. And I guess my address would be technically 50 Commercial Street in Manchester, New Hampshire. And I'm here tonight to represent the Gloucester Housing Authority, David Holden, for the Riverdale Park Veterans Way notice of intent. We met back on May 15th, as you recall, and I sent Chuck, first of all, I have to apologize. I spelled your last name incorrectly in the letter. I added an R, and if you want, I can resend that after this meeting with it corrected. But I think I captured the discussion from the meeting, and it really rotated around or circled around two particular sets of comments from commissioners. And in the letter that I had sent, I started with Commissioner Sargent's question regarding the Chapter 91 permit. And I was able to lay hands, well, not, I guess, digital hands on the Chapter 91 permit that created the area around the facilities building. It actually goes back to work that went along with the O'Malley Middle School and Osmond Babson Road, as near as I can tell. But that is indeed the license for that. So the city of Gloucester holds the license, and it was for a much larger fill. They were, back when they were going to do the wetland, the middle school, they were looking to fill a much larger area, probably for ball fields and things, and then they scaled it back. Our thinking is that the area adjacent to the facilities building is the laydown yard they used when they were building the road, when they were bringing materials in. But that is the license for that area. So it does exist. And actually now I can forward it on to the city, because when they provided materials to us, they didn't have the license. They had the exhibit. And I can share my screen real quick and show you. So here's the.
Was that the only issue we were dealing with at that time? We had others, I thought.
No, yeah, I'm getting to the rest of it. Don't. I'm certainly not downplaying the rest. So the license is now available for the city, and I can forward it to Public Works, because when Public Works, this is the exhibit, and you can see that the exhibit from the microfiche that's been scanned subsequent to it being microfiche is pretty nondescript. This right here is the actual paper scan of the paper copy that is a Public Works for the same. They had intended to fill a pretty sizable area in preparation, and you can see right along Dr. Osmond Babson Road. And that's the little ditch area that shows up on aerial as well.
Okay.
So
We had other items we were discussing
Yep.
at the, okay. I don't want to
So-
push you, but it just seems.
oh
like-
no, I'm happy to make this quick. So, yeah, but I just wanted to make sure you guys were aware that that is available now for everybody. One of the first comments was regarding the seed mix. We went back through the specifications that were provided and made sure that the seed mix on the plans matches the seed mix in the specs, and that is this note here, and we provided that plan back to everybody. And then there was a discussion about a planting plan, at least in sketch form, for the 6 trees throughout that were being had to come down to make way for various piping and things to get replaced or upgraded or repaired. So we prepared a small planting plan or a sketch, and we're happy to work on species with Chuck and the OOC to make sure that it's all native species and acceptable when it goes in. So the darker, larger gray circles are the trees. We figured we would put them in the rear yard areas to help both shade some of the area and then keep them off of pipes, whatnot. And then the three little circles are some shrubs that would be in lieu of the drying yards that are coming out. The housing authority had concerns about putting them right tight to the sidewalk. They're afraid people would damage them, and we thought it would be better to keep it closer to the existing vegetation line to help maybe slowly creep that out further over time. So that was the biggest of the, so those were the two bigger comments that came from that meeting. And bear with me, I'll go back to the top of this document to the letter that I have attached. Just made of grass. The laydown yard was one of the discussion points we had, and unfortunately, because this is an operational neighborhood and housing development, we really can't use the area in the parking lot for laydown yard because those people are going to be coming and going all day and need to be able to park. The laydown yard is really for pipe materials. They're not going to be storing any fuel or oil or hazardous materials. That was the last concern, was there was a concern about an SPCC plan being prepared for that. And again, our intent is to not have any of that stuff on site until, like in the case of maybe fertilizer or something, or some of the plants or things, if they're just trying to give them a little boost as they're getting going, to be done right at the day they're planted. As far as the lawn area that would be underneath the laydown yard, that can be restored per the notes on the general plan to make sure there's no damage to the lawn or that it gets fluffed up if need be. So that was really the bulk of the comments.
Okay.
Discussion.
Let me open it up to public comment. Anybody in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 73 Veterans Way may do so now by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 12 attendees on Zoom and nobody in the audience. Nobody has their hand up.
Seeing none, hearing none, to close the public comment period. Why don't we go into roll call, Commissioner comments, please?
Member Charpentier,
No comments.
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Sargent.
Thank you for your response to comments. I'd like there
No,
to be, thank you for your
absolutely.
response to comments. I would like there to be a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings.
Member Viteri.
Yeah, I also thank you for the response. I would only note that the concern about spill prevention was for fueling activities, not for storage of fuel or other materials. The NOI noted that there would be material stockpiling and fueling taking place on existing paved areas. So I just would like to
sure
see a
this is
condition
built in.
there to be spill control measures in place while fueling activities are taking place.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, and you addressed the rest of my concerns from last meeting, so thank you.
You're welcome.
Member Gola
Nothing further to add.
and Member Jackson.
Nothing further.
Okay, then I guess we can move this.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282996 at 73 Veterans Way.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes,
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gola,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282996 at 73 Veterans Way with the aforementioned conditions.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gola,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, sir, you're all set.
All right. Thank you very much, folks. Have a good night.
You too.
Right. Bye.
For the
All right, all
record, Commissioner Cook is recused from the next.
Okey doke. Next up, notice of intent 0282999, 318 and 320 Essex Avenue, Christopher McCarthy, representing for construction of two single-family homes associated at, I still can't, whether I'm in my house, appurtenances. Between that, never getting Linda's name right, it's all coming back to me. And appurtenances and mitigation plantings for buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland, Chris McCarthy representing. You're up. Do we have the mic?
Hello, Commissioners. Chris McCarthy. I live at 166 Bray Street in Gloucester. I was at the last meeting on Zoom and gave a pretty thorough presentation, except for, I think Commissioner Carpentier wanted a count of, and the commissioners wanted a count of the amount of trees that were substantial and the replacement location. The engineer was able to put those onto a plan and a replanting plan of 12 trees to be removed and 24 trees to be planted on the outskirts closer to the wetlands. I believe it's on the plan. Yeah. Wondering if you had any other questions.
Thank you. I'll open up for the public first. Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 318, 320 Essex Avenue may do so by raising your hand with the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
I have 12 attendees in the Zoom and nobody in the auditorium have any questions or no hands up at this time.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. We'll go on to roll call commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier.
Yeah, I had real trouble hearing the applicant.
Sorry.
You absolutely have to speak directly into the microphone. I would say the last third of what was said, I did not hear. But other
Sorry.
than that, I have no comments.
Microphone down.
There you go.
I will speak right into it. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Can you repeat? Do you want him to repeat what he said?
Just the last part about the number of trees.
So how many trees are being removed and how many are you putting in?
There are going to be 12 trees over 6 inches in diameter that are being removed, that are living and going to be replaced with 24 trees per the plan. Also, they're going to be closer to the wetlands than some of the trees that were more internal to the lot.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Who's up next?
Thanks, roll call.
We're in the middle of it.
Well, whoever is after Linda. Bill.
Bill.
Sorry,
Recused.
Member
Cook.
Recused.
Member Sargent.
Thank you for the newly submitted plan. Because this is a site comprised mostly of fill material of questionable origin, I'd like a condition that there be a 3-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings, and all dewatering must be adequately treated before being discharged.
Member Materi.
No comments.
Member Gola.
No comments.
And Member Jackson.
I had a question. You said you were taking down trees 6 inches or greater.
Correct.
So they sound like fairly sizable trees. I don't know how tall, but my question is, the juniper trees that you're using to replace them can range anywhere from 3 feet to 103 feet in height, depending on the species. Do you happen to know roughly how tall the junipers will be that you're using?
That I'll be planting. I assume they'll be under 6 feet that will be planted. I'm not sure.
Could
There's
you
one
make,
species that grows taller. That's what.
yeah, could you make sure that there are a variety that would appropriately replace the equivalent of what you're taking down?
Sure, sure.
Okay. That would be a condition. Otherwise,
and
no
I can-
additional comments.
And I can give when it comes time for plantings, I can send a plan into the conservation office and.
That'd be great. Thanks.
No problem. Thank you.
We-
Okay.
We all set then?
It looks that way.
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0282999 at 318 to 320 Essex Avenue.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook. Oh, sorry. Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0282999 at 318 320 Essex Avenue with the aforementioned conditions.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
All right, you're all set, sir.
Thank you very much, Commissioners.
For the record, Commissioner Cook has returned.
Okay, we're moving into new business, extension 0282540, 69 Rogers Street, Americold, repairs to facility and DPA, land subject coastal storm flowage, and rocky intertidal shore. Harrison Bernard representing.
Bernard.
Evening, folks. Can you see me?
Yes.
Yes, we can. Name and
Excellent.
address-
I apo-
name-
My name is
Hold on.
Harrison
Whoa,
Schrock.
whoa. Whoa. Name and address for the record, sir.
Harrison Schwannard. I'm a civil engineer within Foth Ports and Harbors Group representing Americold.
Okay. Brief description of the project, please.
A brief description of the project for 69 Rogers Street is that we're looking to perform 7 fiberglass pile jacket repairs to the foundation. The entire structure is supported by reinforced concrete piles. And in the intertidal zone, there's been deterioration of the concrete. And these repairs would restore the section and bearing capacity for the structure.
Okay. Let's move on to, whoops, well, what? Oh. We're gonna move, we're ready to approve, I would assume we're okay. Oh, no,
Roll call comment.
I'm all over the place. Let's go into roll call comments. Sorry about that. Having a moment.
Member Charpentier,
No comment.
Member Cook,
The only question I have is how long an extension are you requesting for?
We're looking for a 1-year extension.
Member Sergeant,
No comment.
Member Viteri,
No comments.
Member Gullah,
No comment.
Member Jackson.
No comment. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve a 1-year extension for 0282540 at 69 Rogers Street, Americold.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
We're all good, right?
He's also on for the next one.
This one's good.
Oh, these are all Americold.
That's correct.
Oh, God. Next up, extension 0282800, 4 Harbor,
Oh, 2541.
1 down,
One, yeah, one up.
One open there.
241.
2541.
Extension 0282541, 1 Rose Square, Americold, repairs to facility and DPA, land subject to coastal storm flowage, rocky intertidal shore. Harrison Bernard, representing.
Again, Harrison Schwannard with Foth representing Americold. At 1 Rose Square, we are looking for a 1-year extension to perform 3 pile cap repairs. These pile caps are also reinforced concrete. There are spalls along the side in the intertidal zone where there's exposed reinforcement. These would be hand-packed concrete repairs that would restore section and prevent further deterioration of the reinforcement, protecting the load capacity of the structure.
Okay, roll call, Commissioner comments?
Member Charpentier,
No comment.
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Sergeant,
No comment.
Member Viteri,
No comment.
Member Gullah,
Comment.
and Member Jackson.
No comment. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve a 1-year extension for 0282541 at 1 Rose Square, Americold.
Carpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Cook,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
and Member Jackson.
Yes.
Oh, no.
Thank
Thank you. 4 Harbor Road. We have to jump back. Extension 0282800 at 4 Harbor Road. Anthony and Chris Smith, demo and rebuild a single-family home in land subject to coastal storm flowage, buffer zone to BVW. Anthony and Chris Smith representing. Name and address for the record when you're ready, sir.
My name is Anthony Smith, 4 Harbor Road, co-owner of the property.
Okay, a brief description of the project?
It's to take down existing family dwelling and rebuild it on the site. The plan is, do you have the plan? I have the plan, but basically we're looking for a 3-year extension of the plan. It was granted in September 2021. And the reason for the delay? Can you all hear me okay? So the reason for the delay basically is we have not started the project yet. The reason for that is we had the approvals back in September 2021. That was when COVID was still going on. There was COVID pricing, COVID build delays. The quote to build and the timeline to build was just not going to work. It was astronomical with no end in sight to it. So we shelved the project. We put it down. The project plan does not change. The site plan will not change. The commitment is to do this with all the requirements that we've set out before and agreed to before. What we need to do is get a new builder to move forward with a plan, and we intend to do that soon, but we need 3 years to get it all done. It's a pretty big project, so
Okay, so you're looking for 3 years, you said?
yes.
Okay, Commissioner roll call comments, I guess?
Member Charpentier,
no comment.
Cook,
No comments.
Member Sergeant,
No comment.
Member Viteri,
No comment.
Member Gullo,
No comment.
Member Jackson.
No comment. Commissioner Jackson moves to grant a 3-year extension to 0282800 at 4 Harbor Road.
Carpentier seconds.
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes,
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you for the help.
Welcome.
Thank you, sir. Next up, RDA 1807, 25 Grapevine Road, Kathy Turner with an addition and deck expansion in single-family home in buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetland. John McDonald, Morehouse McDonald and Associates, Inc., representing. Someone else?
He'll be joining now. Yeah.
Coming. Thank you. That extension thing.
Mr. McDonald, you're still muted and not showing your screen.
Mute. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now?
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes, John McDonald, Morehouse McDonald Architects, 441 Main Street, Melrose.
Okay, brief description of the project.
Brief description is that we are planning an addition and deck expansion to the existing house on Grapevine Road. Given its proximity to the wetlands, as per the City of Gloucester map, we are proposing a retention fence and some native plantings as per the guidelines from the Conservation Commission. The proposed impervious square footage is 729 square feet. We are doubling that square footage to 1467 for native plantings, and they are demarcated on the plan along the side perimeter and close to the house near the addition.
Okay, is that the end of your presentation?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I'll open up for the public, for public comment, I mean. Anyone in the public who wishes to speak for or against the project at 25 Grapevine Road may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
I have one audience member.
Hi, Kathy Turner at 25 Grapevine Road, and I'm just here to support the project per my architect, John McDonald.
Okay, thank you.
There are 9 attendees on Zoom and no hands up.
Seeing none, hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. We go to roll call, commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier,
No comments?
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Sargent.
It looks complete. Usually we see something of this magnitude in NOI, but, you know, I'm fine with it if others are. I'd like a 2-year monitoring for the mortality of mitigation plantings.
Member Viteri.
Yeah, 2 comments. First, I'd like to see some of the mitigation plantings be between the wetland area and the house instead of just on the perimeter of the lot line, kind of in the along sort of the area of where the silt fence is going to be.
Mhm.
And the second one is I'd like to see a condition that any, well, I guess my first question is there a pool that's going to be on the deck on the plan? Is that what is shown?
It's actually a hot tub.
Okay. So I would add a condition that any water from the hot tub not be drained onto the property, and that it be pumped out instead.
Great, thank you.
Member Gullo.
Nothing else to add.
Member Jackson.
Excuse me, no comment. Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for RDA 1807 at 25 Grapevine Road.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves for a negative determination for RDA 1807 at 25 Grapevine Road with the aforementioned conditions.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call. Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, you're all set.
Great. Thank you, commissioners. Have a great night.
You too. Okay, I gotta clarify that point before people jump in like that. That's me. Okay, next up, did these drop any of these numbers, these last 3? Start with Dolliver's and that.
Or sorry, 300.
Tell me about it.
22 Forest Lane is 0283002.
What is it?
3002. And
What about Old Nugent?
that does not have a number.
Okay.
Oliver doesn't have a number either.
Oliver is 3001.
Said Lincoln Street?
3000.
Oh, that one dropped. That one's.
Oh, yeah.
We all good? So we have 3001 for Dolliver's Neck. We have 3002 for Forest Lane. We do not have a file number for Old Nugent Farm, and we have a 3000 for 8 Lincoln.
Correct.
Got it. Good to go? Next up would be notice of intent, 3001, $65 at Oliver's Neck, John Miller, for the installation of 70 feet of underground electric service in buffer zone to Salt Marsh, land subject to coastal storm flowage, John Jetta Gateway Consultants, Inc., representing. Signing again?
Mr. Joe, there is a John Guest. If that is you, please raise your hand. Otherwise, looks like you may have left the meeting.
On a bunch of these, gotta be here. Mr. Judd, if you can hear us on whatever platform you may be on. All right, we'll move on. I'm gonna skip, go back, we'll table it. Next up would be notice of intent 3002, 22 Forest Lane. Jengish Patel for construction of a driveway access to a single-family home in Riverfront area. John Judd Gateway Consultants, Inc., representing. Still no John. Okay. I guess we can move ahead with Old Nogent Farm. We're not going to move it anyways, because it's, oh, really? Everybody's bailing. Up to Lincoln Street. Yeah, I know what we, okay, we're gonna go down to Lincoln Street. So next up is notice of intent 028-3008 Lincoln Street, Michael Hale, City of Gloucester, replacement of a culvert under Lincoln Street within Riverfront area, buffer zone to coastal, buffer zone to ACEC, buffer zone to Salt Marsh. William Ross of New England Civil Engineering Corp. representing. Okay, good. I'll do that, but-
Good evening.
Name and address for the record, sir?
Bill Ross, New England Civil Engineering, just out of Salem, Massachusetts.
Okay, description.
Sorry, we sped through. I thought I was about 6 items away and you accelerated. So I was here before you a few months ago for DPW involving some water main replacement projects on Rust Island first and then Lincoln and Walker Street.
Correct.
As part of that project, we had identified a culvert on Lincoln Street that we are going to cross underneath with a new water main. And I can I share my screen, Chuck, or do you have the presentation?
You can share it.
I can bring it up as well too if you want.
1 second. Is that working?
Yep.
Okay. So as part of the project, we identified a culvert that we had identified crossing underneath through a trenchless method called jacking. And if allowed, we would replace the culvert, and the commission asked us to come back before you with more information. So this is a photo looking into the culvert on the title. Let me show you the resource. This is the location adjacent to Walker Creek. There are several culverts on Lincoln Street. There's one actual perennial stream, and this culvert is a second intermittent stream. I actually visited the site with Chuck. It's in the vicinity of 8 Lincoln Street, and you can see on this resource area, this is Walker Creek. This is identified as the migratory fish run in this green dotted line. We have the salt marsh indicated with this hatch. And then it's hard to see, but the green hatching is the ACEC, which extends across the road. So as a result, it is an outstanding water resource. Here's a zoom in of that same location. As you can see, it's not a defined stream. It is not a USGS mapped stream. It is an intermittent stream. It lies within the land subject to coastal storm flowage. And here's some photos of the upstream and downstream. The bottom right photo is looking upstream from Lincoln Street. You see there's a stacked stone granite culvert, and you see there's a sinkhole here starting to collapse. The downstream side is this photo, which discharges onto an area. It's identified as the salt marsh, but is just a wet area. Looking upstream in the culvert, photo number 3, you see it's completely collapsed and there's no flow passing through it at all. And the 4th photo is from the upstream area. It's kind of a wet area. It flows with seasonal runoff, but it's been defined on the left side by a stone wall and on the right side by a filled residential property. So this is the plan that was put before you in the notice of intent. This is the area in question. You see the 10-foot contour line is in red. This green line is the boundary of the ACEC, which really doesn't correspond to anything on the ground. The ACEC contour goes up into the 20s. But this project, nonetheless, is squarely within the 200-foot riverfront area, as well as the ACEC. So even though it's an intermittent stream, we're treating this as a perennial stream and as the entire project lying within those resource areas. So the entire excavated area is 481 square feet. The area that is located below land subject to coastal stone flowage is 273 feet, which is the area that passes through the culvert now, as well as each head walls. And this area down here, we're identifying as the salt marsh impacts. Even though it doesn't look like a salt marsh, it's identified as such by the state. So in the notice of intent, we're calling for 100 square feet of temporary disturbance in this salt marsh, quote unquote, area. 67 feet of it is a hatched area, which would be surrounded by siltation fence, and we would have the construction dewatering, where we would pump the water. We would stick sandbag cofferdams on either side of this stream. We would pump the clean water around, and while we're digging, we would pump the construction water through a filtration bag, which would be positioned right here and surrounded by silt fence. This is the proposed project, which would be much the same as what you see now. New water main passing beneath, as well as a precast culvert. This is a series of cross sections upstream, attempting to identify the dimensions of the stream and the bank full width. As you see here, let me see if I can zoom in. The existing culvert upstream is 1 foot between the collapsed sections of granite. It is 1 foot wide and 1'7" to the sediment, but the water is filled all the way to the top. So there's virtually nothing here. It's collapsed. And the downstream section, has 8 inches of airspace. If you look at the profile, we took some shots of the stream section, and you have an inverse slope on the upstream side. But except for that one section, you have a consistent slope in the reference sections A to B and downstream of E. The reason for this negative slope is that the granite stones have collapsed in, creating a cavitation, and it's kind of undermined itself here. So what we're proposing is this section shows the existing granite top and the airspace. We're going to stick in a 3-sided box culvert, which will give 1.2 times the bank full width of the upstream, widest section upstream or downstream, so 3.5 feet wide. And as you can see, we're able to change the clear space up to 1'8" from the bottom of the culvert to the sediment line. Same thing on the bottom. We're able to do that in profile, matching the existing profile, but we're going to raise the road in the downstream end about 6 inches. It's a local low spot. So let me see, what else did I miss here? So it's a 3-sided, attempting to meet all the stream crossing standards. if this was a perennial stream. Natural substrate, we would remove the substrate and reinstall it afterwards. It's a three-sided box, embedded 2 feet. The bankful width matches or exceeds the stream width on the upstream side. And the only criteria we're not able to meet would be the ideal openness ratio, which should be 6 foot high, which is just not possible at this low level road. This is a section of what the culvert would look like. There'll be a slight head wall cast in on the upstream and downstream so that the road doesn't erode. And these are details of the silt fence barrier. This is a siltation bag detail, and this is a sandbag cofferdam. Upon completion, we would have stones on the embankments upstream and down, which I think I've shown you a footprint here. Right in this area. Instead of concrete wing walls, we feel we can remove this culvert, which has large flat granite stones. Upon putting in the culvert, we'll stack the stones along the edge of the road to give it a little more natural look. I think that's about it. One thing that's recently come up is that since it is classified, let me stop sharing my screen. Is there any questions before I stop sharing?
No, I think that was a thorough review, but we'll have commissioner comments in a minute.
Okay.
First, I'll open up for public comment. Is anybody in the public, there's only one, just online, who wants to speak for or against the project at 8 Lincoln Street may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We do have 9 attendees on Zoom, and there are no hands up and none within the auditorium.
Seeing none, hearing none, I close the public comment period. Commissioner roll call comments, please, Chuck.
Member Charpentier.
I thought it was very clearly presented and otherwise have no comments.
Cook.
I'm just concerned about how you're going to put the cofferdams in. How are we going to excavate 2 feet down on either side and maintain the sediment level at the current level? I didn't quite understand how that was going to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of described in the narrative, but it is a little confusing. The cofferdams are constructed of sandbags, so there would be no excavation for those. We would fill sandbags and stack them in a semicircle to protect the project. We would excavate the road surface and pull off the top of the culvert separately and store that aside. As we remove the culvert sides, we would excavate 2 feet of soil and keep it, the existing soil that lies within the stream. That we would then do the work, backfill with crushed stone and gravel to the point where we would put that native soil back. And anything that would be missing would be sand.
So you're going to put the native soil back into the culvert?
Yes. Just the top foot of soil that was removed from the quote unquote stream bed. So outside the culvert would be processed gravel for structural. Underneath the culvert would be 1 foot of crushed stone on filter fabric to make sure it has a good foundation. We would backfill in the outsides with normal processed gravel, outsides and above this. Inside, we would stack larger stones in a sloped pattern as shown, so that there would be banks essentially on the side, and then we would fill in with the native material or sand. That's the tricky part, to attempt to keep that soil. We're hopeful that we can remove the existing top foot or two, keep it and put it back.
I'm just wondering how you're going to get the soil into the culvert.
It's going to be by hand.
Doubles.
These
Okay.
culverts will come in sections too, so it's not one large piece. They'll be 4 or 6 feet long. So as they install one section, you would backfill inside of that prior to installing the next section. So it'll go in segmented.
Okay.
Member Sargent.
Yeah, I note the staging area is in the ACEC salt marsh. And the plan is to let it revegetate naturally. I would prefer a couple of things, is that the staging area next to the salt marsh makes sense for dewatering, but storage of soil, storage of the culvert in pieces, as well as gravel. I'm wondering if you could store that at the Dolliver Cemetery, and that way it wouldn't be stored in the ACEC salt marsh. And I also note that DEP commented, and they said it will require a 401 water quality certificate.
Correct. Yeah, I was going to mention that we have to file that as well.
May I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and I'd like monitoring for 2 years because I'm not sure that the salt marsh is going to be restored. And I'm wondering if there might be some plans to maybe do some mitigation plantings, along there because, some of that vegetation is going to be disturbed. Thank you.
Member Terry,
No additional comments.
Member Gullo,
No additional comments?
Member Jackson.
No additional comments.
Okay. Anything else to add, Chuck?
No, I think overall there's a net benefit by opening that culvert. I do think Mr. Sargent's suggestions of keeping a close eye on those plantings definitely be pertinent.
Utilized all of his cemetery if you can, too.
Yeah.
It's all city property.
Is that a condition?
Which one?
The cemetery storage?
Make it.
No. I don't know.
Let's put it in there, see what happens. We're gonna just put that condition to try and utilize, yeah, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, I didn't mention, we wouldn't be storing any gravel. There's really no room to store it on the road or there. So if not Dolliver's, the water job is using a parking lot from a city facility near the old pumping station.
So it won't be stored in the ACEC?
No.
Okay, well, that's that.
Okay with that?
Fine.
Okay.
All right, I think we're good to move.
Okay, Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0283000 at 8 Lincoln Street.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes. Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0283000 at 8 Lincoln Street with the aforementioned conditions concerning monitoring of vegetation along with some mitigation
Charpentier seconds?
and any aforementioned
Oops.
conditions in other meetings. Sorry, Linda.
Okay.
That was the new one. Go ahead.
Charpentier seconds?
Roll call, Member Charpentier,
Yes?
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Terry,
Yes.
Member Gullo,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay, sir, you're all set.
Thank you very much. Have a good night.
Two.
Has Mr. Judd shown up?
He has not, but I do see Thor Akerley is back for Old Nugent.
Okay. Well, before we do that, Attorney Fine, did you want to jump out? Oh, okay.
Okay.
All right. And we're moving back down to
Up one.
Old Nugent Farm?
Oh, up one.
John is back too.
Oh, well, which one we want to do? We want to go in order ideally. So,
$65.
yeah, we'll start there. That's a good spot. Okay, so next up is notice 3001, notice of intent, 3001, $65 neck, John Dolliver's neck, John Miller for installation of 170 ground of electric service in buffer zone to salt marsh, land subject to coastal storm flowage. And that's it. John Judd of Gateway Consultants, Inc. representing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. For the record, John Judd, excuse me, engineer with Gateway Consultants representing the applicant at 65 Dolliver Neck Drive. This is as pointed out in the description, basically a utility connection to an existing transformer box. It is a buffer zone application. Chuck, I'm not sure if you have the ability. I can probably find the plan. I apologize, I didn't have it at my fingertips. But it was in the package, and we have an existing row of erosion control sock around the transformer that was put in recently by National Grid. And with this electricity being extended out to Dolliver's Neck, there's quite a few residences that are eager to tie in and finally have some reliable electric service out here. So we're basically coming into a previous app. Thank you, Chuck. With you can see the existing transformers to the left at Dolliver Neck Drive as you come in. Those of you that have been down here. And the property, it's a unique property. It's off to the right, but it's a subsurface connection that Chuck has the cursor on, and just basically tying into the existing transformer with small diameter PVC pipe. And that's the extent of it. You can see it's a buffer zone application.
Okay, first I'll open up for public comment. Anybody in the public who wants to speak for or against the project at 65 Dolliver's Neck may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We do have 10 attendees on Zoom and one in the audience. I do not see any hands up.
Hearing none, I'll close the public comment period. Move on to roll call comments for commissioners.
Member Charpentier,
No comments?
Member Cook,
No comments.
Member Sargent.
Oh, there's some large trees along the driveway where the utility is proposed to be passed. I'm wondering if there's possible root damage. And so I'm wondering if we should say that within 2 years, if there's signs that the trees are in stress, that there be some mitigation for that. And I'm wondering what happens if you encounter some ledge. There tends to be a lot of ledge out there, as you well know. And as a result, groundwater can be high. So I'm wondering, I want all the watering to be adequately treated before being discharged. Thank you.
Member Viteri.
Yeah, I have a question of why this utility line couldn't be installed in an existing driveway and why it would have to go through sort of a soiled area, substrate area. That's part of the concern about the tree root damage. If that could be avoided by having it be an existing driveway, that should be a possibility that should be considered.
Member Gullo,
Nothing further.
Member Jackson.
I believe this was in the application, but you will be restoring the area completely. Did you have mitigation planned? Are there trees coming down?
Okay, you're up. You can-
Okay, thank you. And so first, we have Peter's concerns. Why not go parallel and follow the driveway down? There's a couple of reasons for that. We're trying to minimize, reduce the total square footage of work within the buffer zone. So we're trying to get out of the buffer zone as soon as possible through a straight route. This would be fairly shallow. National Grid requires 24-inch minimum, and that's typically what would be provided relative to the, excuse me, to the route. The typical, and this is why we showed all these trees, because they are really nice trees out here, these oak trees, and the intent was to avoid them and try to bisect those to the extent possible. If the commission, desires, we can have an arborist on site and make sure that the trees, the tree roots are, the trench is properly cut. Oftentimes, if it's cut while prior to, in other words, not having a backhoe do it, have a clean cut, let the roots heal and then come through. It typically provides or it causes less damage to the tree roots. So that's something that the applicant is willing to do, is have an arborist on site and consult with us to the best do that. But there are no trees proposed to take down. I think Joe had that question. So the intent was to sort of work around these trees, and that's why we show these. There would be some trimming of roots, obviously, but the intent is to do it without damaging the trees.
Okay. Peter, did you had a little, he didn't answer your question.
Well, I still don't understand how you can't just locate it along a paved driveway and just avoid any kind of tree impacts at all. And you know, less
So-
buffer zone work, but like if you're in a driveway, there's really no buffer zone. I guess there's no buffer zone impact because you're already
Right,
in
it
an
gets a little,
existing impact area.
if I could, Peter, it gets a little complicated. You'll see that right of way or that existing driveway goes through. It's actually a lot owned by the neighbor. And the neighbor, it's a very unique situation. You can see all the crazy lot lines out here. That's historically always been a challenge on Dolliver's Neck with utilities, septic systems, and we're quite aware of where these subsurface utilities are, including the recent septic systems. I think Mr. Sargent is also familiar with that. But it's that particular lot. Thank you, Chuck, for putting that up. That's a separate lot owned by the neighbor, and digging up that driveway is going to be problematic. And not to mention, it's going to actually extend more work within the buffer zone in terms of excavation. So again, we're trying to come perpendicular, come right out and get onto our property where we have an existing easement. And we don't have an easement for anything other than access on that other lot. And I'm not sure what the correct word, it just gets to be sticky in this neighborhood. I'll leave it like that. There is also water lines and so forth. We're trying to avoid those.
Hey, commissioners, do we want to continue this or feel comfortable moving it, conditioning it, seeing it?
Again, we are okay with condition having an arborist on the site to sort of coach us through, or the contractor to ensure that the roots are damaged to the least extent possible.
And I'd like some monitoring for at least 2 years afterwards.
And that's acceptable. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be fine with those conditions as well. I mean, I think there is a statutory right to put utilities into any right of way that you have a right over. So I don't know if that's legally an issue that would obstruct them from putting this there. Again, I feel like the impacts would be significantly less locating this in an existing paved driveway.
Right. Want to move forward with,
Does the agent have any comments?
got nothing.
Okay.
Got nothing. All right, why don't we move it and see what happens?
Okay. Commissioner Jackson moves to close the public hearing for NOI 0283001 at 64 Dolliver Neck.
Charpentier seconds?
Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
So we're saying yes to that arborist too, John.
We haven't put the conditions on yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Add it.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve NOI 0283001 at 65 Dolliver Neck with the conditions that the trees and vegetation be monitored for 2 years, and if there is stress, replaced with 2-to-1 mitigation. Any dewatering should be adequately treated, and there will be an arborist on site during construction.
Charpentier seconds?
Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sargent,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
No.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, who's next in the queue? We jumped around there.
22 Forest Lane.
Thank you. Next up is notice of intent 3002, notice of intent. I keep doing myself. It's 3002, 22 Forest Lane. I can't pronounce that. Jignesh Patel, construction of a driveway to access a single-family home in Riverfront area. John Judd, Gateway Consultants, Inc., representing.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the commission. We respectfully request an extension on to the next hearing for this to allow us to get more information and to the agent. Did have a conversation today, and we think we'd be better prepared with an updated plan based on comments from both staff and DEP. If the board is willing to give us an extension to the next hearing, that would be appreciated.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028-3002 at 22 Forest Lane to the Conservation Commission meeting of June
26th.
26th.
Charpentier seconds.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Viteri.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, moving along, we have notice of intent, no DEP number for Old Nugent Farm Condominium Association, the replacement of an existing decks within riverfront area, buffer zone to BVW, land subject to coastal storm flowage, and that's it. Oh, Williams Barrages, I'm sorry, there it is. Thurston Acrely for Williams Barrages, Inc. represented. Name and address of the record, sir?
Hi, good evening. Thorsten Akerly, a professional wetland scientist with Williams and Sparages, 189 North Main Street, Middleton.
Okay, brief description of the project. You have no DEP number, so obviously we won't be clearing the hearing tonight.
Right, that's my understanding as well. So this is the commission's probably familiar with the Old Nugent Farm Road condominiums. They've been here since approximately the early 1980s. I believe there's about 72 total units out there, and the condominiums are undergoing a variety of improvements, mostly to the siding and roofs of the dwelling units. They are also proposing to replace all of the existing decks and associated footings on each of the units. And portions of those units lie within the buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands within riverfront area associated with a stream or river that flows north to south from along parallel with Barn Lane, coastal river in the salt marsh to the east of the site, and within portions of land subject to coastal storm flowage. All work is proposed within existing lawns on the property or within existing degraded areas such as gravel that exists underneath a variety of the patios, pavers that are underneath the decks, or crushed stone. And with that, I'm happy to answer any questions or concerns.
Okay, first I'll open it to public comment. Anybody in the public who wants to speak for or against the project at Old Nugent Farm may do so by hitting the raise your hand button at the bottom of your screen or hitting *9 on your phone or handheld device.
We currently have 9 attendees on the Zoom and 1 in the auditorium, and no hands are up.
Seeing none, hearing none, to close the public comment period. Next up would be roll call commissioner comments.
Member Charpentier.
No comments.
Member Cook.
No comments.
Member Sargent.
I'm wondering if there's going to be spaces in the flooring of the deck, and is there going to be any increase in impervious surfaces?
Member Viteri.
No comments.
Member Gullah.
No comment.
Member Jackson.
No comment, other than I drive by there every day. They run a very clean site.
Is that SBA?
It is.
Okay. So with that,
Just to answer Dave's questions.
Sure. If I may, Greg Huntley from SPS Solutions, the contractor who's managing the site, is here tonight as well, and he can answer the question about whether any of the decks are proposed to be impervious or increase in any way.
Hi, everybody. With regards to your question, there will be spacing between the planks of the deck boards. Per the manufacturer, they require about a 1/4 of an inch space between the deck boards. So there will be a spacing between that to allow rain and snow meltage to pass through.
Okay, well, can we just get your name and, for the record, name and address, please? Sorry, I should have done.
My name, sorry, can you hear me?
Yep, go ahead.
Yeah, my name is Greg Huntley. I'm with Scherniker Property Services. Work for SPS.
Thank you.
Yep.
And there will be no increase in any impervious surfaces?
No increase at all. No, everything's gonna be exactly the same as it is now.
Thank you. Now I think we're ready. No, we have to continue. We don't have a DEP number.
No, we're gonna have to continue.
All right, because you don't have a DEP number assigned yet, we'll have to continue this to the next meeting.
Okay, I assume there's no possibility of approving contingent on a DEP file number, but I completely understand if not.
We're not allowed to do that.
Yep. I had to try.
Yeah, you did. Okay.
Nice try.
Commissioner Jackson moves to continue NOI 028 unassigned DEP number at 0 Old Nugent Farm Road to the Conservation Commission meeting of June 26th.
Charpentier seconds.
Call Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Oh. Okay, have a good night. What's up next?
Certificates of compliance.
COC. First up is RCOC 28-2618, 8 Elaine Terrace. Anything to talk about there, Chuck?
Oh, that one all looked good.
Okay. You want to do these all in one whack or? Okay. So next would be RCOC 0282793, 8 Riggs Point Road. Next would be RCOC 0282881, 6 Rue Lane. And that's it.
Chuck, you found them all acceptable?
I had no problems with any of those. They all looked to
Okay.
be in good shape.
Commissioner Jackson moves to approve requests for certificates of compliance for 0282618, 8 Aileen Terrace, 0282793, 8 Riggs Point Road, and 0282881 at 6 C Rule Lane.
Charpentier seconds.
Call Member Charpentier,
Yes.
Member Cook,
Yes.
Member Sergeant,
Yes.
Member Viteri,
Yes.
Member Gullah,
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Okay. Next up is violations. 6 Stanwood Point.
We do have Mary Rimmer here. Should be joining as a panelist. And Meredith Fine, I guess.
Handheld. You gotta hold it.
You don't get one.
Old school.
Like Frank Sinatra.
Good evening. Meredith Fine, attorney at 108 East Main Street, Gloucester. And with me online is Mary Rimmer, and the manager of the LLC, Joe Pellich. And I'll just turn it over to Mary for the moment. Thank you.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me all right?
Name and address for the record, please.
I can't hear you very well, Mr. Chairman.
I'm sorry, that was my fault. Name and address for the record, please.
Thank you. Mary Rimmer, Rimmer Environmental Consulting, representing Stanwood Point LLC. And I was notified that there was some concern that there was a violation that had occurred on the property. So I did a site inspection and provided a status report to the commission, which I can go through with you if you would like, or I can just, if you've already reviewed it, I can be available to answer questions, however you'd like to handle it.
I'd go through it briefly if you could.
Sure. Okay. I'll share my screen. All right. Can everyone see the plan on the screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So this was the original plan that was approved in October of 2020. And if you recall, I know some of you were members at the time that this was filed. The site was previously a children's camp. And this lot 3A is here. And the proposal was to take down this building here and restore some the salt marsh underneath it and replace with a new building over here. And that's the simple version of what was proposed, and sort of a sequence of what has happened. And I'm going to enlarge this a little bit for you. So here's the building that was in place prior to the commencement of construction on lot 3A. And this is where the building footprint was extending out over the marsh. You can see the little river in the background, and there's a strip of high marsh in between where the building was and the little river. There were some docks that extended off of that building at one time, but not at the time of construction. So what happened because of the years and years of the building over the salt marsh, you know, there was some compression of the substrate, and a small pool had formed. What I was hoping was if over time some of that pool would rebound following a growing season. So we continued to monitor it through May 2022. You can see it really didn't it really didn't change. And the problem with trying to plant in this is obviously, you know, the salt marsh plants, even though they do like to have water, they can't have water all the time. And what happens is the tide comes in, overtops this berm here. Water is maintained in the little ponded area and increases in salinity over time. And so what we ended up doing in order to create some high marsh elevation here is to bring in material to match the grade of the adjacent salt marsh. And then this is the spreading of the sandy material that was used to increase the elevation of the salt marsh. And this is the sort of the final product in 2022. And you can see that, you know, the tide still came up into this area here, which was appropriate. And then it was planted, and we planted with the high marsh grasses that were in the restoration plan. That was in June of 2022. But shortly after that, the plants didn't survive. They had been acclimated by the nursery for the salt conditions, but we're still a little bit too low in elevation for high marsh. And the problem is we don't have an option for constructing low marsh there because of the berm that separates the restoration area from the little river. It wouldn't drain. So this is on the adjacent lot 2A. We had a different situation where we had, and these are the floating booms that were in place at the time the building was taken down, and on that side of the lot. And this had direct access, a direct hydrologic connection to the little river. And even though it was also a little bit lower, we were able to plant that in Spartina alterniflora, which is low marsh, salt marsh. And that actually took really well. And we actually expanded upon the original planting plan to create additional salt marsh in that area. So that on 2A is looking really well. This is some of the additional planting area that was done in this area here. So, but unfortunately, you can see that, you know, the elevation at high tide is just still a little bit too low. That's in 2023. And so what happened is while the order was still valid, additional material, these are the failed plantings, they just dried. I mean, they just kind of got stressed and they just, you can see at low tide, you know, they're just starting to fail here in 2022, only a few months after they were planted. So it is difficult to construct high marsh. There's some challenges with it, but in the fall of last year, prior to the expiration of the order, additional sand was brought in to try to raise that elevation just a little bit more. Some of the sand had compressed and it was still below the adjacent marsh elevation. And that was probably around the time when people noticed that there was sand being put out in what looked like a salt marsh. So I can understand why there might have been a concern, but that was part of the restoration process. So what I did was meet out with the applicant or the owner This is the condition as of a week or so ago. This is the additional sand that was put there. It's it's a similar footprint to what was previously installed. And we took with laser levels, we measured the height of the sand with respect to the adjacent salt marsh to make sure that there isn't any part of this that's higher than the highest adjacent salt marsh area, so that we could be sure that it would support salt marsh vegetation. We also installed this silt sock here, and these other recreated sort of the salt marsh boundary from the original plan. That's what these flags are. And this is after a high tide. You can see that this area flooded. This area was never supposed to be, this was not marsh originally and not proposed to be marsh, but you can see that this kind of followed along the original wetland boundary, and because it zigzagged right through there. So I don't have flags in this corner here. But based on these observations, it appears to me that the only remaining work is to reinstall the plantings, similar to what was done before. Now we have a different elevation. We propose to just add some fertilizer when they're put in as well, so that we give them a little bit better shot. I'm going to connect with the nursery and make sure that there is, that they're properly acclimated for saltwater conditions before they're planted. And the work really just requires a day or maybe 2 days to put them in by hand in the same location that they were put in before. So, the applicant has made a good faith effort to comply with all the conditions of the order of conditions, and is trying to take care of this marsh as best we can. There are some challenges because of its past history and the condition of the marsh with respect to the adjacent high marsh and the separation to the Little River. So I would just request that the commission allow the planting to be allowed to continue. No equipment is needed. There's no, it's just hand planting and putting in the remaining, it's about 2,000 salt marsh plant, Disticus spicata, which is a high marsh grass.
Okay, thank you for that. Chuck, anything to add, or you just want to write into roll call comment?
Well, I guess I just wanted to point out a couple of things. This was brought to our attention by the Shellfish Constable, and she is out in that area regularly. I don't believe that she finds that timeline consistent with when that sand was placed. Looking at those pictures, there's no debris. There's nothing on top of that sand that I'd normally expect for a tidal river. I'd expect all sorts of, dead plants and other debris to kind of build up on that sand. It looks pretty fresh. And the other concern I have is that the owner currently has the place listed for rent with its own private beach. So I to me, it looks like there's maybe a potential conflict of interest the owner may have to rent this property with a private beach.
Yeah.
I do believe, can I finish? I do believe that continued work out there should be done under something that, allows this work to continue, and also to allow for a monitoring period. Currently, the NOI has expired.
Commissioner comment, roll call comment, Chuck?
Member Charpentier.
So I guess I'm not clear on what the violation actually is.
I am not either. So that's why we're here, I think, to determine that. I was informed by the applicant that the additional sand was placed prior to expiration of the order last October. And as far as the beach goes, there is some sandy area between the marsh and the backyard there. And there was a beach there previously, essentially in a boat ramp. So, but I can't really speak to the rental and anything about that. I really think that it appears to me that if we want to get this marsh restored properly, that, you know, we need to get it revegetated. There is a rack line that's above this. This is not in, this is lower than the high tide line. So, you know, there is rack that's not in these photos. And there isn't a lot of rack in the adjacent marsh next to it either. You know, it's just, it's above the line of the photos here. This was taken on May 24th was a full moon. So everything would have been floated up way above this elevation at the time.
May I add something about the rental ad? Mr. Pellich is telling me that that's a different,
Yeah, you gotta let us roll through first.
oh, I apologize.
That's fine, you didn't know. Commissioner, so I'll be next, after you spoke. So obviously we want to get those plantings planted. I would also suggest at this point in time that the owner, for me anyways, that some fencing goes up that protects that stuff, not just visually, but verbally, and signage to say this is not a beach, maybe I'm wrong, a public beach or a beach that's going to be utilized in a manner that hopefully isn't going to destroy everything you just built or planted. I think that needs to be clarified again with signage at a minimum. Signage and documentation would be ideal.
And I think, yeah, it won't look like a beach once it's planted. That's the idea. You won't, it'll be fully vegetated. So I think you won't have that impression.
I'm sorry, I keep letting people ramble on. It's my fault. Commissioner?
This is Commissioner Jackson. Forgive me for being skeptical, but I would like to see some historic photos or maps or something that show that it was a beach there.
Above this elevation, yeah, I can probably.
No, let us.
Let us
Mary,
comment
let
first.
Let us do the comment.
Okay, oh, I'm sorry.
This is Dave Sargent. I know the area well, and it is a challenging area. I'll give you that. I believe the NOI has expired at this point, and it would be hard to allow any activity without an NOI. I note that the original condition, special condition 8, was the environmental monitor should report in writing once every month to the Conservation Commission while construction is underway. I don't believe this was done. And special condition 24 was the wetland scientist shall submit a status report on the wetland replication area at the end of every growing season and no later than September 15th of every year. And I don't believe this was done. And on the original NOI, there was no mention of adding soil. And at the least, this would have required an amendment. And that wasn't done either. We've also heard from the Shellfish Constable that they believe that this is being used as a landing. Originally, I wanted a split rail fence there, but was talked out of that. I would suggest that a split rail fence would still be good, as well as marking to make sure that, you know, nobody ever entered into the, you know, that particular area. I think that's it. Thank you.
Yeah, this is Commissioner Cook. I agree with what Dave said. If we've let the previous NOI expire, then we need to have a new NOI submitted. Basically, you know, saying, you know, exactly what you did and to allow you to get the planting in. But we need to have the documentation to support putting in the plantings. You know, I was hoping you could get an extension, but if it's already expired, we're not allowed to extend an expired NOI.
I concur with Member Sargent and Member Cook on that work. I mean, and there is planting that needs to be done, and if there's no NOI, we need some sort of file opened. And I think signage and fencing is also a good idea to keep, and communication to any rental tenants that this area is a restoration zone in progress. Then there's not to be used for any recreation beach or anything like that. And I think I'd just note that the Shellfish comment had a comment that an issue with the substrate. So I'm not sure if the correct material was used or an appropriate material was used as part of the sand. So I think maybe more consideration should be given to what material is placed there for the restoration.
Okay.
Now-
Member Charpentier?
Attorney Fine.
Now,
Member Charpentier, do you have any comments?
No, I'm okay, thanks.
okay.
No problem.
Thank you. I'm going to go through the ones that I can answer and then ask Mary to take the more technical ones. I haven't seen the ad that you're talking about, but Mr. Pellich is telling me that that was put in by somebody, not him, but somebody from a different unit. Mr. Pellich is not advertising a unit for rent. He has no problem with fencing, no problem with signage. He wants to get this done as fast as he possibly can. He wants to get it done right. He's been trying to get it done right. The fact that the NOI expired was an administrative mistake, not anything that he did on purpose. I'll let Mary talk in more detail about this, but we'd rather have a friendly enforcement order than have to start over with a new NOI. It would be expensive for us. It would actually slow down this process. It would take a lot longer than just, Mr. Pellich can get this planted in a week, if not less. He's eager to do it. Mary's been reserving the plantings for it. If we have to start over, it's going to take a lot longer. But I'll let her, those are all of my comments. She may have things that she wants to add.
I do, and just in terms of the reporting, so this project took place sort of during the tenure of a couple different agents, Ken Whitaker and Adrian Lennon. And during that process, they were kept informed of all the stages and came out to the site multiple times. And so they were kept informed through emails and voice messages. It may be true that the reporting lapsed. There was a report submitted following completion of the initial planting. And then the applicant and I lost touch for a little bit. So we're trying to get that, get everything back in line. The only work, as I mentioned, remaining is installing the plants. It is important to get that in as soon as possible so that we can stabilize this area. And if the commission wanted to allow us to, there is an exemption under the regulations that allows you to install native plantings. There's also an opportunity, as Attorney Fine mentioned, of issuing an enforcement order requiring it be planted immediately. If there are additional items that the commission would like to see, fencing, signage, other items, we can do that as part of a notice of intent. But I think it's really important to get this revegetated as soon as possible. And I think that there's concern that if a notice of intent is filed, that it would be significantly delayed. Again, Stanwood Point is unfortunately has a lot of issues in terms of neighborhood issues. I'll leave it at that. So there is a concern that a notice of intent, getting final order of conditions would be difficult. On a new
Sergeant, you got something, Commissioner Sergeant? I would be, happy with a friendly enforcement order, with the caveat that the soils that were replaced, that there be some analysis of what that soil was and if it's appropriate for the area. So far, that's just a wild card and we don't know what it was. Maybe you know what it was, but we don't have any documentation.
Yeah, we can provide the documentation on that. It was clean washed sand, and that's what is typically used for this. Yep.
May I continue?
I apologize. Sorry.
If we could have some documentation of it and how that's appropriate for the area, that would be helpful, as well as planting the distichus as you proposed initially, and then having Peyton's, take over afterwards. That would be fine. But I would also like a monitoring for an extended period of time, because this is a challenging area and it's also a restoration area. And usually we have a longer period of time for, for monitoring, restoration areas. And again, I would like the split rail fence, because that's a physical barrier besides just the sign?
Mhm.
Thank you.
Anything else, Commissioner comments?
Yeah, I think I'll note that the DMF had comments on what to include in restoration plan. So if we're issuing an friendly enforcement order with a restoration plan, that it should incorporate the comments from DMF. Just want to put that out there.
So a plan that kind of documents existing conditions, the substrate that was placed in there, depth and all that kind of stuff, substrates that were originally there, I believe, and then maybe a plan, planting plan, and timeline for monitoring. So, yeah.
And fence and signage.
And then also, I mean, it'd be good to have that we can then have agency review of, to make sure that they're on board with what's going on out there.
This is all under an enforcement order, friendly. Okay, we're all in agreement on that. Okay.
I did also want to bring up too, there is another NOI for Stanwood Point, that the owner owns. There's still work on that property. I believe that work should probably cease until you get a new NOI for that property, because it also is expired.
I had a question. Is that lot 2A, that other one that was sort of the low marsh that she showed in the status report? Or is that a different property?
I think it might be a different property.
It's 2A.
It is 2A?
Yes.
Well, I mean, it seemed to me that 2A was a successful restoration, or at least it was looking like a successful restoration. So I'm not sure it has quite the same urgency as the High Marsh section.
Right, but the work is still occurring on building the house. The project's not done yet. It should have a active NOI.
Were any protections in place there?
There's erosion.
Okay, thank God for that.
Is there more work that needs to be done under that NOI?
Yeah, the house is not completed yet.
Okay.
It's still under construction.
Okay, so the NOI is more than just a restoration. It's the full house project.
For that project, yes.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
for that parcel.
Think there should be an NOI for that.
Right. I mean, ideally, there would have been an extension, so there should be an NOI in place for that. I agree.
If I may, the remaining work on that lot is landscaping, is my understanding, and paving of the driveway. The house, the interior construction is ongoing, but I can verify this with the applicant, but I believe that it's just the landscaping work that remains.
But most of that landscaping work probably has at least a minimum 2-year moratorium on it. So you're gonna need an extension to cover all of that.
Yeah, yeah, we understand that it will need to be authorized before proceeding, yes.
Okay, there's some cleanup here. We're willing to work with you, but we need quick movements here at this point. Ideally, these things cleaned up sooner rather than later. So I think we're all in agreement to get those plantings in as soon as possible with a friendly enforcement order. Let's get that done. And then you're gonna clean up those remaining orders of, the violation. And what else?
Correct.
Okay,
She needs to verify,
the soils?
no, the, the work on 2A, 3A,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah, double check the
Um,
work on that. as well.
Because that very well may require a new NOI. I'm not backing down from that one yet.
Okay, Attorney Fine, anything to add?
Oh, no, thank you very much.
Commissioners, anything to add? Thank you, Mrs. Rimmer.
When do you think you might be able to have that plan together for the commission to review?
Just a couple days. We'll just update the existing restoration plan that was submitted with the notice of intent.
You can gather that into our office. I'll try to circulate that with agencies and hopefully have it ready to go by the June 26th meeting.
Okay.
Well, I'd just make sure that update to your plan has the DMF, whatever the DMF recommended.
Yes, we would, those are items we were proposing anyway, so sounds fine.
All right. I guess we're good. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Have a good night.
You too.
Okay, we still got a couple more here. Let's
so-
see, we have enforcement order 20, excuse me?
Fort Hill.
Yep. Enforcement order 24-03 Fort Hill Avenue. What's that all about?
So that one, I left that on the agenda. We still had the outstanding issue of they needed to contact the neighbors who also had damage on their property. The legal team did reach out to the neighbors. The neighbors just responded today, but there has been no resolution yet for what may happen on the neighbor's property. So,
We'll just leave that then?
yep.
Okay.
Sorry, a quick question on that. I know we had originally in the first meeting discussed, a fine or something for that property. I don't know if that's fallen by the wayside or anything like that. Probably not something we can discuss now without the property owner present, but I just want to flag that to make sure that it doesn't, drop out of our consideration. I think there was it was very egregious. I think everybody agreed it was a very egregious example of a violation, and there was a lot of uproar from the public. So if there's a fine would act as a deterrent to future people, I think it's still worth considering.
I would agree that we shouldn't take it off the table, but as long as we hold that as an axe over their head, we may get, more compliance, and they may work with the neighbors better as well as restoration, rather than saying, I want pollarding, for example, of all of the trees that are next to Niles Pond. If fines are going to be part of it, we may get, more cooperation from the applicant.
Throw it on the neck, so to speak. Related to that, the applicant, the neighbors who haven't, why did they wait so long? We talked about the fines, and it's difficult, right?
It's just something that needs to be voted on by you.
Okay, but we have, what was it? We went through this with Nancy, actually, and there was $1,200 a day or something, or do we just make up a number?
I'd have to go back and look at it. It's been
Okay.
I think it's maximum $4,000 per violation under our ordinance, but
each day can count as a violation.
each different lot. I mean, I think you could put 3 violations on this because there's the original lot, there's across the street in Niles Pond, which wasn't part of the work, and then there's the neighbor's lot.
Correct.
You can add them up, I guess, if you want. I don't know if it's 4,000 per day. I think it might just be 4,000.
Often in these situations, each day can count as a separate violation until there's a resolution.
I also note that under Mass General Law, if you're cutting down deliberately vegetation in somebody's yard, like trees, you can be fined 3 times the cost of replacing that. So that's an incentive for the applicant to work, for the neighbor, with the neighbor.
So hopefully by the next meeting, we'll have some resolution.
Okay. Anything else? Do we have one more?
Atlantic.
We do have one more. I got word from him earlier. He's working on putting something together and will be present at the June 26th meeting.
Commissioners, anything else to add?
Yeah, I have a couple of things. We keep talking about a June 26th meeting. That's the 4th Wednesday. Usually we do the 1st and the 3rd. We're not doing the 19th this week, this
The
month?
19th is Juneteenth, so it's a
Oh,
holiday.
Juneteenth, it's a holiday. Okay.
after
And the
that,
other
we-
thing, yeah, the other comment I have is, I think we have a problem with these hybrid meetings because the people who are in the room tend to talk amongst yourselves. And I for one, didn't catch a lot of what you were saying. Rob, you're not speaking at all into the microphone. I catch maybe a third of what you're saying. So I think if we're going to have these meetings successful, then I think we need to work on tightening it up for the people who are sitting at the table in the auditorium. Speaking into that microphone is crucial. I know that I saw Mary Rimmer straining to hear what was being said. I personally don't like what we did today. I don't think it was as good as what we've done on Zoom, but that's not my call. But if we're going to do it this way, I think we really need to improve.
Yeah, I have to agree with what Linda's saying. I mean, I basically have my sound maxed out right now. And
Me too.
everybody that comes in on Zoom is just screaming at me. And I basically can't hear you or can barely hear, even when you're speaking into the microphone. So I think we have to get somebody from a technical side to look at the rooms set up and how the microphones and that are working in relation to Zoom. I know they said it was tested. I don't know how they did it, but it's extremely difficult to hear anything. Like I said, the people that are on Zoom is not a problem hearing them, but we can barely, if at all, hear the people that are speaking at the desks.
You're basically, it's us that you're having the biggest trouble with.
We can't hear you.
Okay, can you hear me
Okay.
now?
I can hear you now. The other
Okay.
thing that people tend to do when they're sitting together is to talk among themselves, as you were, on these last couple of items. But when you're talking amongst yourselves, you're not talking into the microphone, and we have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay. We'll try better.
So, I mean, I don't see any benefit to having these hybrid meetings since most of the people who showed up were on Zoom. But that's me. But I agree with, getting some technical assistance. And I think, just really tightening up what the folks in the auditorium are doing.
Okay, could you hear the people in the auditorium talking?
If they talk directly into the microphone, the first presenter stood up and I had no clue what he was talking about.
That was Chris McCarthy. He was standing and the microphone was down on the desk. Once he sat down, I
It was
suggested
better.
he sit down and bend the microphone, and that helped.
Yeah.
So sitting down and obviously bending them as close as we can. Yeah.
I think anytime,
I've been accused of speaking too loudly all the time. Rare.
anytime you guys are turning your heads, they can't hear.
I
It goes
see.
in and out when you turn.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
We can be trained,
Rob,
Linda.
you like to swivel in your chair when you're contemplating and talking. And when you do that, we can't hear you.
And
Well,
to
like
be
I said, I
fair-
think it's a technical thing because the people on Zoom
Yeah, they're
are
loud and clear.
real loud. And if I turn my volume down to halfway, I can't hear the conversations there. I have to turn it almost all the way up, but then everybody that's on Zoom is screaming.
Yep.
So I think the technical folks need to look at that and figure out how to correct that.
I'll speak with them tomorrow. I know they've had other people complaining about not being able to hear the speakers in the auditorium at home. I think a lot of that is not speaking directly into the microphone.
All right. Anything else?
We hit 3,000.
Are we ready to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Are we allowed to adjourn before 8 o'clock?
Well played, Bill. We hear you. We'll look into it.
Okay.
Do we have a second?
I second it.
Roll call. Member Charpentier.
Yes.
Member Cook.
Yes.
Member Sargent.
Yes.
Member Viteri.
Yes.
Member Gullah.
Yes.
Member Jackson.
Yes.
Does the switch still have?
Everybody have a good week.